So the first one up is going to be Sandy Yim. Sandy blogs at aspieteacher.com.
Good morning. So I write aspieteacher.com, and the name means literally what it says. I have Asperger's, and I used to be a classroom teacher in the Philadelphia public schools. I left teaching a couple years ago. I have a number of neurological and sensory issues besides Asperger's, and it got to be a challenge in the chaotic setting. At the point that I left classroom teaching, I had been blogging on and off for a number of years, but nothing that I blogged about really connected with me. And I don't think I ever told anyone this, but I had been reading Wrong Planet at that point, and I realized that people were blogging about autism. And I realized that that was something that I could write about with a passion. So I probably would be lying if I didn't say that my blog was born partly out of frustration of being misunderstood, like a lot of autism bloggers. But I think there are a lot of people who write about that better than I could. So I really wanted to use my personal experiences to find practical solutions for people. I would say that my two biggest influences for my blog are a magazine called Real Simple, and their tagline is "Life Made Simple," or "Life Made Easier Every Day," and a blog called The Happiness Project. The author says it's possible to be happier by taking small, concrete steps in your daily life. So you could say that I write about concrete tips that would make life easier. In the beginning, I wrote some posts, for example, about idioms, because it would bother me that people use phrases that meant something unexpected. Or I would write posts about travel, because I love to travel, but it takes a lot of work to deal with the change in routine. I think the theme that resonated the most with my readers, though, was when I write about sensory issues. Because after I've been writing Ask Me Teacher for a while, I started to really make connections between my sensory environment and like my mood or my meltdowns. I have the worst time really in restaurants and loud places, and it's been that way for my whole life. I'm sure that a lot of you have experienced this before, either yourself or with your students or children. When I was a child, my parents would tell me, or they've told me that they couldn't take me to public places. Somebody would have to stay with me at home because I think the word they used is that I would act like an animal. So I understand now what was going on. And so I have written about the different ways that auditory processing disorder can manifest, because it's not always about just saying what all the time. And I started writing about the simple changes that people can make or were making that would make our lives easier. And then I started wondering how to make change happen on a larger scale. And my blog readers and my Twitter friends helped put together a list of suggestions that I then took to a shopping center in my area. So I went around and I asked the stores if they would learn how to interact with autistic customers and if they would be part of an evening of sensory accommodations. I really didn't know what to expect, but I was really amazed that there were about 30 or 35 stores in this center and restaurants, and every single retailer agreed to take part. So this past April, we had an autism-friendly night out, and it was a real success. Around the time that I started my blog, it seemed like almost everyone who identified as autistic was a male. And if I wanted female support, I had to rely on the neurotypical point of view. So I was hoping to meet other women on the spectrum. There wasn't a lot of dialogue out there about how autism affected girls, and especially adult women. So I wondered what other women my age were going through and how they handled relationships and parenting, especially because at the time that I started writing this, I had just gotten married. I think social media is incredible the way it takes you beyond the boundaries of your traditional community. And I ended up meeting so many wonderful women through my blog and through Twitter, and they come from all walks of life. Some are young and single, some are parents, some are outspoken about being autistic, and some are not. And my quest to find other women on the spectrum ended up leading me to take a role with the Autism Women's Network. I think blogging and social media have taken me to places I never thought I would go. And while it's partly about the writing, it's even more about the people and the connections, which might be a strange thing for an autistic person to say, but that's really the great thing about online communities. It really opens up all kinds of possibilities for autistics to make their mark on the world. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. I have a question for you. How many hours a week do you spend blogging?
I would say blogging, not very many. A couple. Twittering, I couldn't even count.